It's just simply outrageous. And she makes one outrageous comment after another, one outrageous ruling after another. She's already been rebuked in an earlier situation by the 11th Circuit for shilling for Donald Trump. And Elise Jordan, she had two judges come to her asking her to step off the case. Let me tell you something, that just doesn't happen. And when it does, when you have two judges coming to you saying you need to step off the case, you step off the case.
Joe Scarborough of Morning Joe absolutely went off on the judge overseeing Donald Trump's classified documents case, Judge Aileen Cannon, today. And for good reason, as we'll see throughout this video. Because despite an initial trial date of May 20th that is clearly gone with the wind at this point, and still no new trial date anywhere in sight, the prosecution of Donald Trump over his retention of classified documents has moved so slowly that even some legal observers have questioned whether the judge overseeing the case is in over her head.
She is in way over her head.
And while that very much may be the case, the trial's delays, oddities, and snail pace has some wondering if there may be something more sinister at play. And Judge Aileen Cannon's continued curious actions have only added to the mystery. And while I was recording this video, we also got some breaking news around a gag order for Trump in the case that we'll talk about as well. So stick around, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new here, and let's dive deeper into what the heck is going on and going wrong with this case.
Let me tell you something, that just doesn't happen. And when it does, when you have two judges coming to you saying, you need to step off the case, you step off the case.
Now, I'm not a judge or a legal expert, but that seems pretty damning. I mean, hell, even if I were a barista and two of my coworkers told me I should probably stop making lattes because I was too inexperienced to make them in under an hour, I'd suck it up and go back to pouring some pre-made cold brew. And as stupid as that may sound, it's actually a pretty accurate analogy.
Now, according to the New York Times, two South Florida federal judges urged Judge Cannon to step down from the case and pass it off to a more experienced judge. The report named Cecilia Altonaga, Chief Judge of the Southern District of Florida, as one of those judges. Cannon worked as an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District before her appointment as a judge. Cannon is being heavily scrutinized for her handling of the case, with critics arguing she's pushed the trial beyond the election by slowing down the legal process.
If you're interested in what your reputation is going to be among, other judges, the judicial system, those who revere the rule of law, she just doesn't really care. She from the outside, she is doing everything she can do to play into her critics' view that she is little more than a hack for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and the evidence for her being just a hack for Donald Trump is pretty damning. For instance, according to the Wall Street Journal, at a hearing on Friday, she took the unusual step of allowing a Texas law professor and two other lawyers unaffiliated with the case to argue on whether the special counsel behind the prosecution, Jack Smith, was unlawfully appointed.
Lawyers for Donald Trump are squaring off with special counsel Jack Smith in a Florida courtroom today. The former president's attorneys are arguing to get the special counsel's classified documents case tossed by alleging Smith's appointment is invalid because it was not approved by Congress. Now, Smith claims the DOJ made the same appointments during the Trump administration and instead is focused on asking the judge to impose a limited gag order on Trump. All of that, as ABC News learned exclusively that Smith's team probed a previously unreported trip that Trump took to Mar-a-Lago weeks before the FBI searched it back in 2022.
Right, so instead of actually getting to the bottom of the potential crimes Trump committed by blatantly and intentionally putting our national security at risk and potentially criminally mishandling those classified documents, Aileen Cannon is more interested in hearing out arguments for the entire case to be dismissed. Now, it doesn't seem like that will actually happen, but it doesn't exactly inspire confidence about the judge's competence.
Mr. Reed, it is out of sheer morbid curiosity I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
And this week, she is entertaining more arguments from Trump's lawyers and prosecutors on other legal challenges and, as you just heard, on Smith's request for a gag order limiting the former president's rhetoric about agents involved in the case.
Later in the day, that's when federal prosecutors will discuss a motion pushing for a limited gag order on former President Trump after the former president made comments that FBI agents were out to kill him and his family during the search of Mar-a-Lago back in 2022. Trump had said in a fundraising email that the FBI was, quote, locked and loaded, ready to take me out and put my family in danger. Smith's legal team says the statement is not only false, but endangers the lives of law enforcement.
Very similar, if not identical language appeared in the search warrant that the FBI executed when they looked into President Biden's home in Delaware. So I do not think it is accurate to suggest that the FBI came to Mar-a-Lago with the intent to assassinate President Trump. I don't think that is accurate.
Wait, was that Fox News doing actual journalism? Truthfully reporting on Trump's dangerous lies? Well, I'll be damned, good for them. That probably took more guts than a Trump courthouse fart. But still, it is yet to be seen if the judge will heed Smith's calls of, come on Aileen, gag this traitorous felon so he doesn't threaten and lie about the FBI. And even if she does, it probably won't be in anything resembling a timely manner.
Well, it's a very Trumpian rejection of norms to not step aside, to say, oh, I'm going to stay in this case that really I should recuse myself. I don't have the level of expertise, the experience being on the court that long, or given all the nature of the classified documents and the time that's going to take to process. It really is unbelievable that just nothing is going to happen on this case until well after the election. And I know that sometimes the wheels of justice can move slowly, but you would have thought there would have been a little bit more urgency given the state of democracy and the implications that this case has.
Yeah, you'd think any non-compromised person, let alone a judge, would actually recognize and act on the urgency of the situation, given the fact that the defendant is running for the presidency while begging a Supreme Court full of non-recusers for immunity to do whatever the hell he wants. At least any non-compromised judge living in base reality.
Well, I mean, and when she even puts out there that the jury instructions can basically be whatever Donald Trump's view of the law should be for him, is just yet one other example. But just, again, something just, it's sort of a real life moment to look at on how disconnected she purposefully is from reality, is when she says that this man's threats can't impact other people's lives, when this man's threats and his words have led to Nancy Pelosi's husband being bludgeoned nearly to death in his home, has led to people melting pipe bombs. It's led to countless death threats, and people have had to get round-the-clock security. Yeah, I mean, what she's saying is a lie. She knows that what she's saying is a lie, and yet she says it anyway from a position of a federal bench, saying that Donald Trump's threats can't cause any violence or threats of violence. Yeah, I mean, read the newspapers. That's a lie on its face. In fact, you could go to another judge, probably in that same judicial district, and they would take judicial notice of the fact that Donald Trump's threats often lead to violence or threats of violence.
Right. We have seen the danger of Donald Trump's words on so many occasions that the least any sane judge actually concerned about justice being served could do is put a limited gag order on the guy whose words led to the first insurrection since the Civil War. But Cannon seems pretty clearly partial to Donald Trump's side of the story and idea of justice. In fact, before she was even assigned to this Trump prosecution, she oversaw a civil lawsuit the former president brought over the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago, granting Trump's request for a third-party review of the recovered documents, thus disrupting the investigation until a 3-judge appeals panel overturned her, with the panel unanimously rebuking Cannon's legal reasoning and saying there was no justification for treating Trump differently from any other target of a search warrant. Just like there is currently no justification for treating Trump any differently than the private citizen he is and was at the time of his document hoarding. And with all this evidence of her delays and seeming partiality towards yet again defendant Trump, it's hard to see her as anything more than
a hack for Donald Trump.
Thanks for watching, folks. If you appreciated this informative dive into the curious circumstances of this case, please be sure to drop a like on the video and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out a lot. And I am very curious to hear all of your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think of how Aileen Cannon is handling this? Do you agree that she seems partial to Trump, even by the sheer fact that she's allowed this trial to be delayed for so long, as well as all the other evidence provided? Let me know your thoughts down below. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you all in the next one.